Okay. Are we live? Did I push the button? Yes, we did. How are we doing, everybody? Welcome back to the Shaun Attwood channel. I'm Ron Swanson, and we're live with KristIn Davis once again. And we're going to be delving in to the Candace Owen and ERIKA KIRK shenanigans that's been going on. KristIn has got some unique insight information with the history of Turning Point. But before we get into all that, how are you doing? How have things been for you? It's great to see you.
I am great. I've missed your audience. A lot of people reached out to me after the last show. They were like, we loved your episode. So
that's awesome.
That was nice.
Yeah, big shout out to the community. We've got a good crowd here. Well, I think the whole world has been in the ripples of the aftermath of Charlie Kirk, right? The world felt the impact of it all. There was people, you know, never been to church in their life, going out, getting a nice suit from either a store or, you know, the secondhand shops, and trying to emulate a little bit of what was taken. And I thought that was incredible. And I, for one, fell straight into I mean, I never said a conspiratorial word. I never said nothing. I was so respectful, and I'm usually the first one to jump on anything. And you know, seeing ERIKA and seeing the whole memorial, it was quite a lot. That was a moment where I was like, that's quite a lot. But take us back to your experiences. Tell us your history, KristIn, with it all, and give us that kind of insight, if you will.
You know, for those who don't know me, a lot of people know me as the Manhattan Madam. I used to be a madam. I was arrested in connection with providing former governor of New York, Eliot Spitzer, with call girls. That launched me into the political press. I think madams can go, you know, one of two ways. You could be Heidi Fleiss. You go into the entertainment world because that's the type of coverage you get. I ended up in politics because of my association. I built a career in politics after that. I met Roger Stone. We've run many campaigns together. I've represented, you know, and worked with Bobby Kennedy, Roger Stone, General Flynn, Rudy Giuliani, many of the who's who in the right. I've been in this world for 16 years. So a lot of the, you know, influencers that you know that maybe you like or dislike, you know, I've been around before them. I've watched them come onto the scene. I was around before social media because I'm old.
Yeah.
And I watched them come onto the scene, you know, and I've actually been the one that operationally does things, right? My experience is running campaigns and doing PR and making people famous, right? I've done at least 50,000 media bookings. So I know how the media works. I know how to craft a message, push it out. I know how to do the spin, all the things. So I've watched everyone, you know, silently behind the scenes. I like to be behind the scenes a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So, because there's always negativity about KristIn Davis and who I must be. So I usually take, and I make a very good number two. You know, I don't ask questions. I'm effective. So, you know, for me, you know, initially I liked Turning Point years and years ago. I thought that it was a good, you know, a necessary thing to have another voice in a school, you know, in a college. And you know, over the years, as I have went to many Turning Point events, you know, I've been to their women's conferences. I've had people, I've had my, you know, my people speak on their stages. So I've had to go, you know, it's not that I wanted to go, you know, I never actually want to leave the house. But, you know, I go to these things and I go to these things and, you know, I put on the face and I make the connections and I promote my speakers, whether that's Roger or whomever. And I have to say, you know, what I saw behind the scenes really wasn't what they were preaching. And, you know, I'm not a judgmental person, so it doesn't matter to me. But there's a lot of, you know, questions, I think, about, you know, about what happened to Charlie Kirk, logical questions that people are asking, people should be asking. And, you know, something I've seen, which is I shared in a Substack. I wrote a Substack. I started a Substack as a way to sort of, you know, get information out that's not going to be censored. I have a client who does, he's involved in paid protesting, and he sees it as a constitutional right to compensate people for their time. And I was looking for an avenue to get him on TV and radio. This is going to give you an example of how the media is working against the Charlie Kirk assassination in coordination with the government.
Okay.
And so I'm segueing off a Turning Point, but we can come back there. It is turning point. So
okay.
I'm looking for a way to get my client on TV and radio, right? I'm looking for an angle. And I know that George Zinn, which nobody is talking about George Zinn, he was the first guy to say, I killed Charlie Kirk. He was the first guy, the old guy. He took the heat. Then he was caught with, child abuse material.
Okay, yeah.
Arrested. And we heard nothing more about this man. And to me, that always, in the beginning, I was like, who is this guy? Did he do this? What is his involvement? Who does he know? Is he in the Discord chat rooms? I have all these questions. And I started thinking maybe he's a paid protester. Maybe he's paid to do all these things. So I'm looking for an angle for work related to, advance my clients in the media. I'm looking for an angle. So I start doing a deep dive on George Zinn. I go down a rabbit hole, another rabbit hole. I uncover 30 plus years of arrest history. I uncover some articles where he's talking about campaigning and things like that make it seem like it's work, that he's being paid, like this is his job. And I mean, I have this unique skill set of having this political experience, but also having been a criminal. So I know where to look for the dirt, right? Like I know if you're going to hide something, where you're going to hide it.
Yeah.
Because I've been in a few worlds. So I'm going down like, federal election campaign, finance records, looking for payments. I'm doing all this, I'm in the property ownership for his county, looking for things. Like I did a comprehensive deep dive. And I found a few things, and I put it into a report thinking I could, brand it under my client's name and get him in the media. I pitched it to Fox News. The reporter was in love with the story. She's like, I can't believe this hasn't come out.
Okay.
When can you book my person? And she then ghosted me. And she ghosted me for a week. And I finally spoke to her and she said, we've decided not to cover it. And as doing this for 16 years, putting people on TV, nobody turns down a scoop. Nobody says, I don't want to, I'm not going to cover that. It hasn't come out. And I'm just not going to cover that unless someone very high up tells them, we're not going to question the narrative. You're not going to do that. And we don't want that. And in my opinion, I've had articles blocked before. I've had people blocked before. It came from in my opinion, probably someone in the administration that doesn't want the official narrative question. And, so I kind of got drawn into this myself, trying, to figure out, how I can advance my own client. So, I think that there's a widespread media blackout on this. If you Google, you don't even have to take my word for it. If you Google, like, who is George Zinn, there's like nothing that comes up. If you Google, who is Tyler Robinson, nothing comes up. When I had to testify for the Mueller investigation, there were 1,500 articles about who is KristIn Davis. What do we know about her? Because of my past, you're going to tell me that nobody is curious. I mean, we have such limited information.
It's really odd. Now, am I not right in saying that because they found that particular abuse material, the CSAM, on his phone, was there not laws in the state that it changed how the media could interview him and all this kind of stuff? It was almost like a very lucky scenario for if you wanted to, quickly get somebody out of the public eye, that would be these are the laws to use it. And let's not forget, it wasn't just that he was the first one arrested or the first one that said anything. He's the only freaking individual I've ever seen with his pants down. Like the spectacle that's involved in that. Like you got to understand, like that's like a phosphorus bomb going off in the dark. People are just going to look at the madman with his trousers down. It was outrageous and the most over the top distraction tactic I've ever seen. And I get the whole narrative for me is so bizarre. How do you get a rifle like that down those ladders without breaking it down? Like you couldn't have stuck it down your trousers because both his legs were bending at the knees. Like there's so much, and it just goes on. And I'll be honest, it got to a point with me where all of the conspiracy side quests seemed like all of them were orchestrated just to keep us arguing about stuff. Guys in rooms with torches or things that look like muzzle flashes, and the microphone, and everyone around him doing some sort of mad, like, sign language shenanigans. There was a lot, but it seemed like way too much, because everywhere you look, there seems to be a new theory based off of some guy in the crowd, or this guy looked him in the eye and said this right at the moment, and then there's the guy running across the build. It was a lot, right? And what I want to know, KristIn, okay, is usually when you have an extremist individual who's radicalized through something like Discord, there's there's usually more people involved, right? And they usually at least want to bring them in and question them. I don't know what happened to the onesie wearing roommate slash boyfriend slash partner that just disappeared. And then all of this Discord conversation. So are all the people that were just spurring them on Discord, are they just allowed to walk about now? Is that okay? Like, is that okay?
Perfectly logical questions, right? And in a normal investigation, we would know all about the boyfriend. We'd know where the boyfriend grew up, and you know what schools he went to, what his jobs. We'd know his first girlfriend. We'd know all the things.
Yep.
We'd know his pets' names. We don't know that here because nobody's covering it. So there's just a media blackout. One, that's clearly proven. The only person probably asking questions is Candace and a few other people, right? A few other podcasters, especially the gun guys I saw an analysis the other day for the bullet, and I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, and the problem is there's all the side conspiracies, like you said, but there's no transparency. So people are left with questions, and because they're not getting a clear answer, or because the answers that, you know, they're getting don't actually make sense, then there's 15 more conspiracies, and maybe, you know, a simple answer to them would have just squashed them. But the government doesn't feel like we need an answer, and Turning Point doesn't feel like we need an answer either, because, you know, now you're talking about the organization being left to a bunch of young people who have limited professional experience, and they haven't had to earn their place, right? To me, that's what we're seeing in Turning Point, especially knowing PR. We're seeing a bunch of people who didn't have to earn their role to be there. Like, they were just given Charlie Kirk's show, and they didn't have to earn it. They didn't have to go through the media trials, the rejections, the branding of their words and themselves. So now they just act like they don't owe us any trust or transparency. They don't have to earn those things. And the people are speaking out, and they're like, no, we're not just going to trust you. We don't know you. If we did know Turning Point at all, it was because of Charlie, and now here y'all are. I mean, I represented the network that Charlie has his show on. I represented them for 2 years, Real America's Voice. So I know them. I know, you know, all the people involved here. And, you know, I haven't necessarily talked negatively about them because I didn't want to, in bad taste about Charlie. But, you know, for me, a lot of these political organizations are just grifts. You know, they're vehicles to raise money in which to funnel the money to yourselves. And for me, that's also, I feel like you can see it when you see the management team of Turning Point, that you're like, how could these people be effective? How could they, you know, be good managers? Look at the way they handled his death. Look at the way they're handling their PR image, all the things they're doing, like blatantly monetizing his death, you know, in numerous ways right after, in bad taste, all the things that they're doing, to me says like, well, how much professional experience could you have? Because this is not how like normal people act.
Let me ask you, when the memorial was announced, right? We all knew that the public were going to have some way of being involved, right? But for me, there was a lot of stuff going on there that was just, it was a bit wild. And watching it back in the moment, right? It was all like, oh, amazing, right? But then afterwards, and you watch it back, like, there is some moments with ERIKA where I'm sorry, like, she talks about forgiving the man that killed her husband, and that's great. That's the Christian vibe, right? I mean, that's what you guys do. That's your thing. I get that, but it felt a bit bizarre. And somebody had mentioned the other day that no one had actually been charged. The guy was, obviously he's been accused. He's not going through the courts. I mean, maybe she was speaking in a general terms, whoever it was, but I'm pretty sure she named the guy. And then there was the hugs with the hands on the back of the heads. It was bizarre. And do you think that created a snowball effect for people to question ERIKA from the start?
I did. She's not come across as likable, and I think she comes across as very inauthentic. She doesn't come across as genuine, and people, wanted to see more emotion from her. I don't know her, so I have met Charlie on a number of occasions, but I didn't know her. But I think for me, that's like a trend at Turning Point. You see them all, and none of them are authentic. And to me, that also is like, it transfers onto the organization. How authentic could your organization be if these are the people that you have in charge, if these are the people you have around you who, are acting like this? There's, and as a publicist, I sat down before this interview and I watched her CBS town hall, ERIKA KIRK's. And if she was my client, I would, first of all, she has on the like dark eye makeup. It's all very dramatic. I would have immediately told her, what you need to come across as likable. Public perception right now is what matters, because public perception is what wins campaigns, not
of course
qualifications. And people don't like you. People think that you are emotionless. They think a number of things about you, and let's tone this all down. This is not the time or the place. You don't need all the 500 rings. You don't need all these things. And her CBS interview also did very badly because you could tell it was scripted. I have done a million town halls. I'll tell you, I did Gary Johnson's, and that was my first town hall, 2012, as a libertarian for president. I did his town hall that put him on the map. And I have all the questions in advance. I'm not going to go in there without the questions. If you don't give me a question, I want to know who's asking the questions. I vetted the guy. I will even place people in there to ask the questions because I want a certain perspective. So some of those people in there, I know 100% that they had been placed there because they wanted that perspective shown, and so none of it's organic, none of it's authentic. And I think, segueing into Candace, right? Yeah. That's why people are resonating with the stuff that she's saying, because it's logical and because it seems like it's just, something that you would organically gravitate to.
Everyone is losing their mind in the chat about ERIKA KIRK. I mean, they are losing their damn mind, from Susan saying, her children have just lost their father. They're hurting. They missed their dad, and now their mum's gone. Their PR team has missed the mark. Everything points to Mossad, right? Like everyone is. I mean, shut Turning Point down. Before
this interview, I was doing a little prep, and I looked at an interview that Charlie and ERIKA did. I think it was from August. Together, they were sitting down. It was live, and there looked, she had a lot of differing views from what his views, especially for women, and there seemed to be some tension in the interview that I watched. And then I went down a deep dive on Charlie KIRK, and he 100% felt that women should be at home with the family. There might be a time and a place for a career, but the family should be the priority. And the point is, now you have 2 fatherless kids and you are doing a media tour. You're telling me that you wanted to protect his legacy, that everybody involved cares about Charlie KIRK's legacy.
You're raising his legacy.
She's not at home with the kids. She raised $6 million or whatever it was in the GoFundMe. She doesn't have to work.
She's missing the point.
Everybody's just gaslighting us, and people don't like it when I don't like to be gaslit.
Well, it's the thing. If she says she's out there for Charlie's legacy are those 2 kids,
right?
Like she missed the point. I mean, I wasn't like a hardcore Charlie Kirk follower, but my God, it was pretty much drilled in from the shorts and the memes and everything that, you know, fall in love young, start a family young, raise a family, meet your true love. I mean, that was his whole shtick. You know what I'm saying? And it is quite sad. But I mean, listen, she's loaded, right? She can take her kids with her. She can see her kids. I imagine she's working around it all. But I would have thought some time out would have been something, because I don't think she's paused. Right? I really don't think she's. Is this the sign of a woman who's in denial and trying to run away from dealing with the loss of Charlie? Are we seeing the classic running from our problems, throwing ourselves into work? Could that be what we're witnessing?
And that could be. She might be, you know, dealing with her grief in that way, and maybe she's still in shock. You know, you have to go through different periods of grieving, and maybe she's still in shock. And, you know, I've worked for so many nonprofits and for PACs, and a lot of times, like, they have to immediately get a CEO. It's either in their charter, or if the, you know, CEO dies or something happens, or they're incapacitated, surgery, whatever, then you have to appoint a new one within a certain period of time, just like a corporation. And so I'm sure it was probably in there that this had to be done. And if she didn't accept, they would have moved on to someone else. So.
Okay. Well, I'll be honest. If I was ERIKA KIRK, I would have taken control of everything instantly. 100%. No way, Jose. Let me just throw the Jose in there, because you know the wolves would have been snarling at the poor widow's heels, you know, all of that stuff. Maybe this is just how badass she needs to be in this world. I'm not defending her. I'm just we're just two people on the internet having a conversation, and it's interesting from both sides. There's a mountain of fishiness, ERIKA, okay, that we could quite easily bring up here. Okay, the music video, the mystery boyfriend before Charlie, who, you know, didn't exist in your eyes because you weren't dating before Charlie. There's a lot of things, okay, little open tins of sardines, just fishiness, and people have got questions. And people are always going to use the internet to try and find those answers. And of course, CANDACE, okay, has been at the forefront of this. And people are listening, okay? Like I caught one of her lives the other day. I think she had close to 250,000 people watching on her live, because people want to know. And CANDACE is the one person that if something sounds conspiratorial, but she's got receipts for it, she's going to say it. Okay, she's not just going to sit back and be like, everything's cool. You know, I've definitely not been threatened by French assassins. Like, she's going to come out and she's going to say it. And the build up to this meeting that they had, 4.5 hours behind closed doors. And then, of course, it was productive. Like, not only you're a woman, okay, but a political lady, all right? When the word "it was productive" is used, how does that rest with you? How does that rest? Because people are usually really excited to be like, it was amazing. This was fantastic. Was this just a really polite way of saying, like, they argued for 4.5 hours behind that closed door? Is that like what you think?
I think there was some tension. You know, there's definitely some tension. And the thing is, you know, when you start speaking out, like, people just don't understand it, right? Yeah. When you start speaking out against this and you're in that world, right, you get attacked and you get uninvited to places. You know, I personally, you know, I don't know CANDACE, and I don't actually make a habit of defending people I don't know, because I've done that with so many clients and I've been burned so many times. But so I don't do that. I just err on the side of truth. I want to be on the side of truth. If someone's saying something logical that I'm already thinking, well, then, hey, I'm just supporting myself. And people don't understand when you are saying stuff that, you know, that you're questioning the administration narrative, that no one in Trump world will speak to you, that you have burned all the bridges and you will never be invited to an event in Trump world unless you backtrack that. You will never be, unless you make public amends, like you must grovel. That you've burned all those bridges. And right now that's the president. So now you've burned like all of the right, mostly. you know, and then I see these people, these influencers going online bashing Candace, and then in the next breath, they post a graphic of them speaking on AmFest Turning Point stage this week. And I'm like, well, how genuine could you really be?
Yeah, that's
Because
fishy.
people don't get it. You know, Turning Point's raised what, 150 mil right now. They control the youth vote. They were the most powerful political operating machine for people, let's say, under 30. Okay, like it used to be back in the day when I started, the Young Republicans clubs were the thing. That's not the case anymore. It's Turning Point. So so everybody wants to be an ambassador. Everybody wants to be on the stage. Everybody wants to be on the payroll. And none of the right-wing influencers are being honest, because they're all the people that say, question the system, question the narrative. And yet they're completely fine. They're not. They have no questions. They think all of this is just, it is what it is, because they want to be involved with Turning Point. It's not genuine.
Well, it's certainly, I didn't know what, I hadn't really absorbed the word turning point until Charlie's death, you know? So everyone knows what turning point is now, you know? I mean, if you turn around and say, oh, I work with Turning Point, instantly someone's going to go, that's that Charlie KIRK thing.
Well, hey, I don't know if it's still the same way now, but back in the day, you could just pay money and you'd be an ambassador. Everything there was pay to play.
Pay to play. Pay to win, baby. Pay to win.
About that. How come nobody's talking about? I have clients who have paid $5,000 or $10,000 and now they're an ambassador and they're invited to the women's conference and speaking on a stage because the brand was for sale. And if your brand is for sale like that, then you're for sale. And you know, I 100% believe that to reach the size that they were, that they had to take money from places, and they were probably young and naive, and they did not understand that when they took that money meant control. And I understand that because I've watched it happen over and over and over in my years. When you take $1 million donation, now that donor wants to be on your board. That donor wants to have a say in the decisions that your organization is going to make. And I went to a Turning Point Christmas party, private party at Mar-a-Lago. I think this was 22. And I watched them raise over $40 million in 5 minutes.
How do we set this up, KristIn? How do we set one of these up? Okay.
$1 to $5 million a pop. People were just raising their hands because Charlie KIRK and Carrie Lake asked them to make donations. And
that's why she's working
like
hard.
If you don't know this world and you were a young kid like Charlie KIRK and you're taking all this money and you're believing that these people actually believe in your cause, that they're going to help you, but that's not why they're doing it. A lot of the donors are donating because they want control. That's exactly why they're doing. And now they're a board member and they're going to tell you what to do. And they have their own objectives.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's like the plot of like a freaking movie, right? Or like corporate espionage, all of this stuff. But this is just the way that these people do it. They slip in with the financial backing, and before you know it, you're taking orders from people in a business that you thought was yours. And it can be too much for some people. And the invincibility you feel at 25 is dwindled when by the time you're pushing 40, you know, you're kind of like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have made that weird deal in that Ritz hotel when I was 25. And of course, there was talks of Charlie rejecting some of the Israeli funding. I do believe it was a few people were talking about this, and definitely did not help the conspiratorial wildfire.
You already sold your soul. Okay, this is one of the reasons why I didn't like Turning Point all that much, because I had been to all the events and I watched the people buying their way in.
Yeah,
you already sold your soul. You can't then go and say, I want my soul back without there being repercussions. Now, I'm not saying that repercussion is death or that he deserved to be assassinated or any of these things. No, but I'm saying that you already are there. Now to dig yourself out of that situation is not as simple as being like, I'm going to turn down this money, because now you've got a whole board of people who think you should take that money. Now you've got people to answer to. You've got a structure. Like, you can't, in all honesty, he couldn't make those decisions by himself anymore. He has a board. When you work for a nonprofit, the board has to vote. Like, you are not the boss anymore. You might be CEO in name, but it takes 2/3 of the board vote to make a decision. I'm on the board of like 2 nonprofits right now. That's exactly how they all work. And it's to protect the donor money, right? Because donors want to know that not just you is in control of the way we spend this money, right? So they want to know that budgets are approved with a board, and that it's all done very fair. Doesn't mean there's not grifting, because there's 100% grifting, but you know, it's done in a way where he didn't really have that control anymore.
Yeah. And you have to wonder, right, with making terrible decisions in the past and trying to fight those decisions in the future. I mean, do you think that in Charlie's head, he was just going to go around universities for the rest of his life, arguing and pushing his points and educating and, you know, doing all of this? Because he never seemed, I mean, that seems to have been his drive. Do you think that he was foolish to have sat out in an open air the way that he did? Do you think that he just underestimated what was coming?
I think he did underestimate. I mean, you can't do that forever, right? You can't be 45 and antagonizing college kids. So at some point you got to cut it. But
you can, but you just can't do it when you're like also high-fiving the president. Like,
right.
You know, you can have one or the other. High-five the president or argue with college kids. Because at some point, someone's going to go, I don't like that president. He knows that president. Let's punish him. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think there are 2 things at play there, right?
Okay.
Like, he probably downplayed his need for security to some extent.
Yeah, I think
and
so.
I've traveled with all these guys on the right?
Yeah.
And their security is always pretty pathetic. Not gonna lie. Like, one time somebody tried to kidnap Roger Stone, and I'm the one that took my heel off and started beating the 6'5" guy. Okay. And we had 3 security guys sitting right there. And afterwards, I made them feel like complete pieces of garbage. I was like, you pieces of shit.
Oh, hell
I'm
yeah.
a woman and I had to do that. Oh, I slammed into them. But they all underestimate the level of hatred that's against them. So I think that that's in play. But then again, I also think that Charlie Kirk, he's a smart guy. He had loftier aspirations. He wanted probably to be president. He would have been, I think you have to be 35 to run, 35, 36. He would have been next in line. He could have, ran the next cycle maybe as vice president.
Yeah. I mean,
and he controls the youth vote. So he would be a logical guy to have in one of those positions.
Yeah. It would have been an interesting world, I'll be honest. Vice President Kirk would have been an interesting one. He would have had to have, of course, continued with his investors that allegedly he turned his back on, which would have been interesting. Okay, yeah, this is an interesting one. So this was something that ERIKA KIRK had brought up, right? Saying that every Friday, Charlie would come home and say something about Shabbat Shalom. It's something or other. Throw his phone in the drawer, and I mean, Friday, the Sabbath or the Sabbath is a Jewish thing, right? Sunday is the Christian day of rest and Sabbath. Did you pick up on that or hear anything about that? It felt like, because it was weird, it brought nothing to the context, KristIn, right? If your husband's Christian and maybe for whatever funny reason, he comes in every Friday and he's like, Shabbat Shalom. It's got nothing to do with him being Jewish. He just says it, right? It's just household banter. Throws the phone in. By adding that in, all you're doing is creating an air of suspicion about what it is that you're saying, right? So it feels...
PR team is awful because I'm sure that they discussed this in advance.
Of course they did.
Intentionally. It was done intentionally to promote the illusion that he was still deeply aligned with Israel. Yeah, yes. It was done intentionally. But I want to try to play devil's advocate just a little.
Okay, let's go. Ready for it.
Maybe in his household, because they did have such a deep connection to Israel, and they did have so many Jewish donors. I know because I sat in those rooms and watched them raise money. I'd say like 70% were Jewish. So maybe they did it. Maybe he did it as like a way of, saying like, this is our time of rest, because it's a term for you know, the dinner that marks the rest period.
I get that 100%.
Maybe he just did it for that, and it was, you know, I don't know. I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt.
It was a weird one because it felt like more of like I say, a family banter thing than something that needs to be said about a dude that's no longer here to give context to. After all the suspicion about Israel and how basically if a freaking cat gets hit by a car, people can connect it to Mossad. Okay, like people will figure out a way of connecting anything back to Israel.
Well, and it was
they're wrong.
All of those things are done in advance. If it was my client, we would sit down and talk about these are the questions, how we're going to answer them.
Yes.
We did it for a reason.
Of course.
You know, my guess is, like in my professional experience, is probably that they took the money, whatever that big money that was out there that Charlie turned down. And there was probably a fight over it. The board of Turning Point probably already wanted to take that money. So there was some internal war over it, you know, and now they've put her in and they can take it. But they didn't need to put her in, really, because it just depends on their board structure, how many people are in the board, what type of vote is needed. So, you know, they probably took that money, and part of that money means, you know, speaking positively about the people that donated that money.
Yeah. Well, look, there was a clip that I found on the Megyn Kelly show, right, of ERIKA KIRK. And I'm not going to lie, I've never seen Eric. For a start, she's wearing all black, right?
Right. This is the one where I said, like, the eye makeup.
Oh, this is the one you were talking about. I'm not being funny, right? That would have been an appropriate outfit for your husband's memorial. That dress black, you know, all like that's the one. This you shouldn't be dressing like you're going to a funeral to address a rumor. Like you're going on this show to tell people to stop saying that she planned her husband's assassination, right? And she's went full freaking.
An employee of Turning Point.
She
has been one of the main peddlers of these conspiracies, and she is making a huge.
She is mad. She is mad.
Yeah, if lasers could shoot out of her eyes right now, perfect.
Like, look at that. Look at that. Like, if you were to Google woman scorn, right, that is the face right there. Listen, men, if you're watching, okay, even if you're in your late teens, that is the face you never want to create in your partner. That face right there, you leave the house. You go stay in a hotel for 8 hours. That is scary.
Huge amount of money on it. She is building her business off of the.
Those are psycho eyes. Like that.
These lies. What do you want to say?
She looks like a Chucky doll. This is what.
To her and the other people that are putting these lies.
She's not the one lying, Chris. Like,
I know.
ERIKA,
and you know what, the thing about this clip is, okay, but play the clip because I have a good analysis for this.
I feel like ERIKA's going to beat the living shit out of this woman, right? I feel like she's going to leap over the table and just beat her ass down.
Out into the world right now.
Stop. That's it. That's all I have to say. Stop.
And you know the interesting thing about this clip is that she's saying stop. She's not telling her to stop the podcast, right? She just said stop, and they left it very vague. And they did that on purpose because they then don't want to take the backlash for saying, well, ERIKA KIRK told you to stop the podcast, because then everyone would question why she was saying to stop the actual podcast. So she just left it so vague that it's like, stop. Well, what do you mean stop? And then they underestimated Candace Owens because Candace flipped it, right? Because her PR person probably told her, hey, look, they didn't tell you to stop the podcast. Maybe we could just say they said stop the lies. And that's how Candace has thrown it out there, which is, it's brilliant. I mean, it is smart, but because they left it vague. So, you know, they gave Candace an opening and she took it as she should have.
Like, I understand she's mad, right? But those are serious stares that she's given off. I need to turn her off the screen, man. That's going to be the new face of.
To be clear, like that Barry, I think her name's Barry Weiss or whatever her name is. She's saying that Candace is making herself rich at that. So what is Candace really making her? I mean, I hate to defend someone, but I'm curious as to what Candace is making herself rich off of. The views, because do you know how much she's probably cost herself by questioning the Trump administration narrative? People are charging for access, right? If you want, let's say, in this world, a citizenship here, you could probably pay someone really close to Trump or someone close, if you got all the friends, $1 million, and you can get yourself a green card. You want a pardon? Look at the abuse of pardons. You want a pardon? It's $1 million. So if Candace had just been compliant and been super pro-Trump and maintained that connection, she would probably be a few, $5+ million richer. So you're going to tell me that she's made that off of views and her sponsors? I feel like not.
Well, do you know what? Next time we have a talk, KristIn, I'll do the math. Okay, because I can do the math. Okay, I can do the math.
We convene on the math for the view.
I can definitely do the math. I will say this though, it will be bonkers how much Candace is making from her YouTube channel. I mean, if you've got 250,000 people watching you live on YouTube consistently, you're probably looking at a minimum of $2,000 to $3,000 per hour just while you're live, I would have thought, and then several thousand afterwards. Crazy. I mean, it's not millions, okay? But she's streaming every day. Then there's the clips and everything. Anyway, that's not the point here. My ADHD is trying to work the math out now. That's not the time. So, Candace always said if her husband says stop or ERIKA says stop, she'll stop. But I think everyone had tried to spin it that Candace was saying that ERIKA planned all of this. And then I believe that's what brought them to the table, was ERIKA's suspicion of all of this and their discussion. And I imagine it wasn't difficult for that to be debunked to ERIKA.
I mean, and Candace isn't saying that she planned it. She's just saying that certain things don't fit, and we want answers to make them fit. And those are all logical statements.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. There's only so many times you can politely beat around the bush of something, expecting that somebody's going to explain or put something out there that puts the current narrative at rest, because, Turning Point's so in touch with its audience and listens to the people, right? I mean, the first thing that that ERIKA should have done was understood the power of the whole online audience that she had access to, first of all. And she should have played into that. She should have lent into
they care, because they had such political power and money-raising capabilities before. They just don't care. They've not had to work for their roles right now, right? They were just given Charlie Kirk show, but nobody wants to see these people. That's why their ratings have plummeted, because nobody wants to see these unknown people. Like, we're just supposed to instantly like you. I mean,
and it's the internet is, you get one shot, ERIKA, and if you blow it, half your audience gone overnight.
What's fascinating to me is, like, I make a video pointing out some of the things I've seen at Turning Point's events, and how they don't practice what they preach, and a lot of things that I felt like were disingenuous, and people attacking me. And my response back is like, have you ever been to a Turning Point event? Do you know these people as I do? I'm not speaking from opinion. I'm speaking from my very firsthand experience in this world. So why are you attacking me?
Because
you projected your values onto these people, and you assume that they're good people because you just blindly believe what they say. I mean,
no, they've bought the merch, KristIn.
Right, it's true. People have bought into it, and I'm like,
and how dare you talk badly about the name on the T-shirt, because that cost $18. Okay, right. And that shows that I'm part of something.
There's no independent thinking.
No, of course not. Of course not. I mean, that's another thing, though. I mean, the collective belief of madness that is rife right now with the younger folk and some people on a certain side. It blows my mind on a daily basis. Can I just circle back to ERIKA on this interview for a second? Because the longer that I look at this, right, the longer I look at this,
we're just waiting for the lasers.
Well, but I've never seen anyone do this. I've been on the internet a long time, right? I've seen a lot of people being interviewed. But this ain't the move. Like, this is not, people don't go on and death glare the person that's interviewing them like this. Like, there's got to be more.
The death glare was clearly meant for Candace, but what do you take of the death glare? Because it is.
Look at the camera. Look at the camera. If I'm looking at you and death glaring you on an interview, and that death glare is for Candace, you look at the camera. You got to stare at the camera and be like, you see this death glare, Candace? Because I'm telling you now, if I was part of the security team on this stage, I would have stopped the podcast and been like, is everything okay? Because people.
I've seen the death glare before in a few of my clients, and the death glare usually means I'm coming for you. You better be scared. That's the message that, some of the people on the right that I've worked with send when they do the death glare, but they would never do it on national TV.
Well, this is the thing.
Behind the, in the war rooms of the campaign.
Yes. Or you get caught. Like for 1 second, right? Like in the back of a paparazzi photograph where you're just like, death glaring someone. This is prolonged death glarism. And I've never seen that. And that's quite interesting, because that's a whole side of ERIKA KIRK that I've never seen. I've never seen the death glare, black outfit, freaking Gestapo look. Do you know what I'm saying? That's quite mad. And obviously,
I question the authenticity of these people because I know them. But when you have been a failed rapper, a failed actress, a failed reality TV show star, a failed any of these singers, then you come over to the right and you find a home, because they're not going to fact check you. They don't care if you're talented. They don't care if you're smart. All they care is that you regurgitate the sound bites and you're accepted and you have a following. And I think that's what we're seeing sort of here, right? Wow. She's a failed all the things, right? Reality show, not necessarily failed, but like mediocre successful. And she's done a reality show. She's done, some level of modeling and all these things. And then you end up on the right, but the right is like home to all the, people who have failed in entertainment and still desperate to be famous elsewhere.
Right.
And I've had so many people come to me in my PR firm. They're like, hey, will you represent us? And my answer is always no. First of all, no, because I don't know if you're genuine. Yeah. And two, like the blatant clout chasing is just too much. I can't deal with that. I only want to work on real stuff. But I get them like 2 or 3 a month, same like all these people, same like her, like desperate to be in the right. And I'm like, are you doing this because you think it's easier? It probably is easier because you don't have to be talented.
Damn. I mean, it is a grim reality, isn't it? Really. I mean, it seems to me that it's just all pay to play. It's all pay to play. And the rest of us are just left here, staring at it all, wondering what it is that the hell it is that makes the world turn. And it was a good point as well. Candace Owens wasn't made famous by the Charlie Kirk assassination. Candace Owens was doing her thing quite successfully beforehand, and I imagine we'll be doing it quite successfully for a long time still.
She was Blexit, right? My guess is I think Turning Point maybe bought Blexit, but she was Blexit. So back, 2015, 2016 is when all these new influencers started, right? Because Trump inspired them. So before that, all the people I was working with were people who had real political experience, real run campaigns. I was always so humbled to be the dumbest one in the room. And then, Trump inspired this whole regular person, stuff. And then everybody had a gimmick, right? We had Brandon Straka with Walk Away. We had Charlie Kirk. We had Milo Yiannopoulos. And then you had Candace with Blexit. And she got a lot of popularity from Blexit. And then I think that merged. She sold it. I don't know the entire background, but it became one with Turning Point. And, they use these. At some point, you realize I have a vehicle with which I have political power because I have this group of people, whether it's, teens and college age kids or minorities. And now people, how this works in politics is people go out and hire you. They go out and hire you to one, put their messaging to your audience, but also to get more of that type of audience for whatever it is they're doing. And so all of it's a racket, 100%. I didn't see that last comment. What did that person say?
ERIKA is a grieving widow, not with her kids, out promoting Charlie's book, laughing on podcasts, and got her husband's job. Makes no sense. I mean, it's wild. And what do you think's next for ERIKA? I mean, what do you think 2026 is going to bring? Do you think we're going to see a rallying PR team try and pull a young new face, you know, a 20-year-old Charlie KIRK in the making, and try and rinse and repeat, metaphorically speaking?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that, you know, my guess is if they don't course correct, they're going to implode. They'll blow through that money. And I don't think that they're capable of making the best decisions for that money. I don't think a Super Bowl ad or the Super Bowl thing is the right, you know, they're planning.
What is the Super Bowl thing?
You know, listen, Bobby Kennedy, when I was, you know, working with his group, they took out a 2024 Super Bowl ad, which completely bombed. It forced his family to then come out and say negative things about them. And it was a colossal waste of, like, I don't know, $2 million. So I feel like, you know, maybe we should just let the Super Bowl have its Super Bowl time and focus on something else, you know. So sometimes these things are not the best decisions and they're wasteful of money, and you end up with nothing. So
I remember
I don't know if they'll have as much power going forward, because, you know, I can't imagine that show, that Real America's Voice, is going to keep that show forever. Well, I mean, the ratings have dropped, and
of course
people are likable on TV. Why do we care about your opinion when your only claim to fame is that your friend died? I mean,
yeah, and here's the thing: it's one thing if you're just an online person, right? You're not a political person. Someone passes away, family member picks up the torch. There's a culture of that online. But when it's somebody who is in a position of power, who's being supported, who people have watched grow and rise up, they're not just there for the team and the brand. They're there because they've been on that journey with Charlie. They've connected through the screen. They've connected through his campaigns, all of this. And when that was taken, they, like I say, they had a very small window to do right by all this. And I think they went way too corporate machine. I think Charlie would have preferred ERIKA to at least taken some time for the kids, in my humble opinion. I don't know the guy. I'm just a guy on the internet with an opinion.
Hey, as a publicist, I would tell them in the very beginning, why don't we do our own press conference where we tell people how we'd like things to go forward? And we talk about it with people in a humble way. So if you stand in front of, you know, a group and it's broadcast on Charlie KIRK show, and you say, listen, we really want to keep up his legacy. These are the things that we're going to try to do. We don't entirely know, but we don't want him to die. And you said it in a really authentic way. And you told the people, like, how much you loved him. And you showed, you know, some real tears, not the, you know, and you say, hey, you know, we want to keep this show alive. We'd appreciate your continued support. We know that you don't know us, but we want to earn your trust. We want to earn your respect. So please, all these things. And you throw yourself on the mercy of the audience.
Yes.
That's exactly what I would tell my client. That's what I would do.
You know what? You're right. The campaign should have been something like, let us prove ourselves, or something.
Instead, they came in entitled, like, you have to accept me. We know his legacy. You don't. You don't have the right to have a question. And it all failed. And you cannot now change people's minds. You can, because people have a short memory. But that's like 1.5 to 2 years from now, they'll forget. But right now it's fresh, and it's going to be fresh because we want to know who actually killed him. So they can't, in my PR opinion, they can't really, unless they fall on the sword, like I just said, and then admit we've handled you wrong. We are so deeply sorry. We have
no, there's no
we're here. We are a servant of the people, and they are not servants of the people.
No, there's no way. There's no way the corporate machine can roll back and be like, sorry, actually, we're nice guys. Okay. Look at ERIKA now, sat in the home knitting. Look how relatable she is, right? Look how homely she is, right? We're going to do it right this time. Nah. They had a very brief window. And I'm like I say, I wasn't even a dedicated mega fan or of Charlie Kirk at all. But I know his legacy well enough that they really did not nail it at all. And it's going to be a sad one if, what Charlie Kirk could have achieved dies out. And it's
and it's sad they brought all these people, into churches. They brought them all into the cause, and then they just let them down. And I feel like they have a responsibility to, I feel like people who are in positions of power and influence have a responsibility to the people that are listening to them. Mm-hmm. And that's where the disconnect is, because social media allows people to be liars and inauthentic, and they incentivize that through increased followers and being able to monetize. And then people just think that's how the world is, but it's not. Like, you owe your fans, the people who, you owe them real answers. You owe them something. And some of these younger people just don't think that way.
Yeah. Plus, people don't understand. The only thing that really matters online, and Charlie oozed this, is authenticity. Charlie was an actual goofball, right? There's moments where, like, you're sitting there and the guy starts laughing at stuff, or he says something, and that's the thing. The corporate machine has no room for goofball. That is not I mean, look, this is a meme template. That is a top text, bottom text meme template waiting to happen, KristIn. Okay. Oh my God, is that a bad smell? No, it's my life choices. Do you know what I'm saying? Right there.
Well,
right
and
there.
Let me just point out from a PR perspective. Let's say she did the demon eyes, right? But she was in a pink dress with normal makeup. It might look more like she's holding back tears. It would completely look different. The makeup and the black amplifies it in a way.
I know what you're trying to do. But I have to push back. All you would have had there, right, is freaking serial killer Barbie. That's what you would have had there, okay? As soon as you put the pink dress,
which is more digestible than Matrix evil Barbie.
I hate Matrix evil when I see it now, man. Yeah,
it is Matrix. You could totally see her doing the flips.
It's wild, man. I'm not going to be funny, but I'm going to be replaying this clip on many live streams, and we're going to be talking a lot about this side chat. Because this is the clip that keeps on giving, as far as I'm concerned. This needs to go on a T-shirt or something. Like, that is
how she handles it going forward, right? What's her next PR move? What are you doing next? How are you?
Is it the same PR team as Meghan Markle has, right? Because she's
deeply hated.
Oh, but she doesn't act like it, KristIn, right? She's like, oh, here's my new Netflix show. It's absolutely diabolical. It's a train wreck. I mean,
well, that's a message to the people watching. When you have power and money, you are out of touch with reality. You don't operate in the same circles where you understand. And when you have that power and money, I've seen this so many times throughout my whole entire life, from hedge funds to Madam to politics. When you have that, nobody's telling you the truth. Everyone around you is co-signing your bad behavior because they're scared. They want to maintain access to you. They're afraid that if they tell you that sucked, that you're not going to speak to them anymore. So they're just not going to tell you. And I can't tell you how many campaigns I've been in, like the war room, and my person has like totally screwed up. And I've been like, that was awful. You probably cost us 2 points. Maybe 5 points. I don't know, but where did you get that from? And everybody, and they're like, the candidate's like, what do you mean? Everybody told me I was so great. No, you weren't. You were awful. Yeah. And it's hard for people to tell certain people the truth. That's also why I think Trump, doesn't get the right feedback either, because the people around him, they're not going to tell him. They want to maintain access. They're not going to tell him, hey, you shouldn't have said that. That came across. Hey, you shouldn't have said that about Rob Reiner having TDS. That came across as shitty. You shouldn't say that.
Right. I'm not being honest. I'll be honest.
You look completely insensitive, and you could have taken the opportunity to say, hey, he didn't like me. He really hated me, but I'm so deeply sad that he's dead and got killed by his own son. You could have said something that made you the bigger person, but these people don't have the right group. None of them do. Not anyone in politics doesn't have anyone telling them the truth.
America's crazy right now. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I seen a video the other day of a member of the public walking naked into a dollar store and locking themselves in the freezer and being discovered dead by the staff the next morning. Okay. Also, is there a job where people can just hire you to deliver bad news that they're too scared to give to people? Because if so, I would love that job. Okay. Like, I could be the bad news deliverer for people. Like, if you're too scared to go and tell someone that they are terrible at something, hire Ron. Ron will do it in a constructive way. It'll all work out great. But the ERIKA KIRK scenario, Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, the future of Turning Point. It's a legacy that should have lasted a long time. Charlie Kirk's. Hopefully, some by goddamn miracle, I've got a funny feeling that Charlie Kirk's legacy is going to be saved by the internet and not by Turning Point. I think the fact that it is so bizarre, the way that people are just assuming that Tyler Robinson, the way that none of this makes any sense, is the individual, the mastermind behind taking out Charlie Kirk. You only have to look at the caliber of bullet and the size of mammal that those are designed to take down. The width of an adult deer compared to a human neck is very different. I've got a lot of questions. And
is there such a thing as a slim 30-06 bullet?
Probably not.
I have someone deeply debating me in my comments, telling me that it 100% could have done, even though I've watched 500 videos from people recreating the scene, and they're like, there's a slim bullet. There's a slim bullet. And I'm like,
what do you mean a slim bullet? Like, I'm sorry. So a slim bullet, it's like, it's the velocity. It doesn't matter how slim the bullet is. If it's firing at 1 trillion miles an hour and designed to kill a deer and it hits you in the neck, I'm going to assume there's going to be an exit wound. I'm not an expert. All right. In fact, I'm completely unqualified. I've been educated by movies. Okay. With what I know about weapons, movies. All right. But I've seen a lot of hunting survival shows. Right. And I've seen what bullets can do. And I actually thought it was a 22 when I seen the footage. I thought it was a small caliber round, because there wasn't a lot of stuff going on. It was a horrific bit of footage, but I instantly thought guy in the front row with some, makeshift spring operated 22 number or something. But it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. And the history I know more about his grandfather's gun than anything else in this case. And that's just from the mainstream media. Like, why do I know all of the stuff about his grandfather's gun?
But nothing about him, right?
No, obviously. Why would they want to tell us anything about him?
Like, where do they work? How do they afford their apartment? What kind of jobs do they have when they were 16, 17, 18? What's their family like? And for me also, you're telling me that this kid confessed, his parents turned him in, but now he pled not guilty?
Yeah, listen, this is...
What? If somebody confessed, then they're probably going to go in there saying, I'm guilty. How can we get this over with?
Well, do you know what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting for the plot twist for the granddad to find his rifle in the wardrobe in his bedroom and be like, oh, wait, couldn't have been Tyler. I've got the rifle here. Or some nonsense.
It'll be telling for everyone watching. I think it'll be telling to see how the media covers this going forward. Are they expanding what we know? Are they looking into it more, or are they just reporting? Right? Are they just saying, here's what happened today, here's what they presented, or are they questioning it like, hey, this person was mentioned here in the Discord chat. Here's what we know about this person, you know, because
Discord said it was him.
What how it's going to go also, because if they're just co-signing on this guy, then
they're 100%.
You 100% don't always get a fair trial. I hate when people are like, oh, let the justice system do its job. I've been inside the justice system twice. It doesn't matter. It 100% doesn't matter. Like, they will, you know, attorneys and judges and all these people, they're all friends. They all orchestrate, they push, they don't let information come out. They don't let you plead certain things. Like, you're never going to know unless, you know, honestly, unless reporters dig.
I'll be honest, with it all being televised now, right? And we got to see some of Tyler live in the courtroom, I think last week. He gave me vibes of his lawyers are telling him stuff that are putting such a level of confidence in him that it makes me feel sick, right? Like, there's something really odd going on with this case. And the fact that it's being televised is another oddity. I wonder if something... Do you remember what happened to the JFK guy, right, on live television? Do you remember that? That's the vibes I'm getting. That's the kind of weird, because how nicely wrapped up in a bow would that be?
So nicely.
Like, how nicely would that be? And again, you know who's going to get blamed for that? It gives me really, it's just odd. And again, if his granddad's rifle was one of 5 limited edition rifle with tiger stripes and a unicorn horn on it, I would be behind the whole, oh, that's my rifle on TV or whatever crap it was that they were talking about. It's the most, it's the sort of rifle, if you're in Texas and you sign up for a bank account, they give you one for free, right? It's one of those rifles. It's fairly common. And none of it makes sense.
Why don't we have a motive yet? Like, what's his motive? He hated Charlie Kirk. I mean, every school shooting that we have, there's a manifesto. There's all these things. We know everything about the person that did it. We know their motives. We know that they were going through a gender transition or furry or whatever. And, you know, we're given such vague information right now. Information that doesn't actually tie to anything or anyone of credibility. So I'm like, I don't understand this.
Do you think that on the right side, so many of the things that are normalized on the left side are so far past what some people can fathom as normal that as soon as they hear those things, that's enough of motive for them? Oh, he had a trans friend. That's enough motive for me. Do you see what I'm saying? Discord says it. Oh, we must get him into the courtroom. Do you see what I mean? I feel like there's a level of, we don't even have to explain this fully to y'all, because we'll throw in some buzzwords, trigger yous, and just watch yous argue on Twitter for the next 3 weeks. That's the vibes I get from it all. Sadly, I feel like that's going to be the operates, like how things are going to be moving forward with a lot of cases that have individuals tied to them that have a following or a slight whisper of conspiracy behind them. I really do.
You're right. I mean, I think it's on both sides, but you're right. You know, the right is not compassionate or trying to be understanding for things they don't understand.
Sure.
So lifestyles, I speak from experience. They don't understand me. They've been, you know, a lot of them very unkind to me over the years. I don't let it stop me, but I think you're right. They'll just put the label like they do with me. They put a label on somebody and now you're not redeemable. You're evil. You're awful. You must be this. And there is no additional explanation.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. It's going to be a case that I'm going to be covering as soon as it goes live. It's again, it's a horrific thing to be sitting talking about, the fact that these things happen. Someone like Charlie Kirk being taken out. If I was ERIKA and I was truly thinking that I was doing the best, there's no conspiracy or whatever, I'd be pretty mad on podcasts if people were saying I'd killed my husband, right? But again, I can't sit here and say that I'm putting all my chips on ERIKA is innocent or ERIKA is got her hands clean or she's made the perfect set of decisions. I can't do it. There's too many.
Well, most murders, is it not always the ones closest to you that do that? In a lot of murders, I mean, I know that's not something I'm supposed to say out loud, but isn't that the case? Is like,
well, I mean,
sometimes it's the spouse or it's
Yeah. And of course, we're just talking here factually about crime statistics. At no point are we making any allegations. I'm just getting ahead of Twitter in the morning for you, KristIn. Okay. So make sure
Twitter hates me. I'm not even on Twitter. Twitter hates me. I somehow got lumped into some conspiracy with General Flynn. I don't know. And
of course.
I don't know. Because he went off on a reporter and I was sitting right next to him because I was managing his media and he went off and yelled and then I got recognized and lumped in. So I don't even go on.
Who hasn't been in a scandal with General Flynn? Okay. It's just another day of the office, right?
Yeah, it's always the ones closest to you. And I feel like, you know, I don't really always go down the conspiracy rabbit hole. I just go down what seems more logical. You know, the people that are closest to you trying to take over your business, maybe, I don't know. All these things are like, you know, let's not underestimate, you know, what people will do things for. Like some people kill another person for $5,000.
Yeah.
You know, now you're talking multi-million-dollar organization where Charlie Kirk, you know, my thing about Turning Point is like, I don't have the best things to say about them, but I watched them go out and choose influencers, right? Not everybody's pay to play, right? If you don't have a following, then you got to be pay to play. But some of these people are people who have hundreds of thousands of followers that they clearly want in the fold because they want access to their followers. But I watched them choose followers and choose ambassadors supposed to be based on these values, which those people are not actually embodying those values in their real life, but they choose them. And now you're catering to these people's ego and you're making them feel important and special when they actually haven't really done all that much to get that. And now you go to an event and you've got, you know, all the social media influencers, and now you're attracting more of those, right? Because now you see a young girl who wanted to be a model, wanted to be an actress, wanted to be this, and she's not been successful. But she can now be successful and get the same kind of ego validation here.
And this is to sell tickets to events and to take in donations, right?
Yes.
This is just what being a streamer is, except in the most ridiculous form. Okay, that's what this is. Like,
I went to the Turning Point. Let's give a little story. I like this story. I went to the Turning Point Women's Conference one year with Real America's Voice and with one of my clients. Actually, I've been to a few of these. And I went. And I met a woman who was their ambassador that they were flouting, who was there with her married boyfriend, and his wife and 3 kids were at home. Everybody knew it. And I just was like, you piece of garbage. There was that. And then I had dinner with one of the women who was having an affair with Matt Gaetz. And I'm just thinking to myself, this is what conservatism is. I'm not a conservative, for the record, but I was just like, this is what this is. These people have to project a fake life because they are in the family values world where their image matters, and they actually have a double life. They have a shadow life.
I agree. It's crazy.
And they have to lie about it because this world is not accepting to the honesty. This is why the world doesn't like me, because I'm just like, okay, you don't like me.
Yeah, brutally honest. Well, I mean, that's it. I mean, I'm not being funny. If I was at one of those parties, 2 Long Island iced teas, and I'm going to be ruining some lives, right? I'm just going to be sitting there going, watch what I'm about to post. KristIn, watch this. Post.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, it was definitely hard for me. And but it was eye-opening because I was like, okay, none of these people actually mean anything they say.
It's crazy. How are you meant to look someone in the eye whose entire career is based off of truth and people buying into them, and they're then going home and lying to the faces of their family? Like, it just mind-blowing.
And you know, the thing is, like, it's hard to bring authenticity into it, because when you do, you're speaking negatively about people and you get attacked. I try to do it on some of my socials and I get attacked, and I don't really care, because what are you going to do to me that I haven't already done to myself? But, you know, but I can see where other people, it's a system, right? It's a system because other people want to be involved in Turning Point. And one of the conditions for being in this world is to condone and overlook. So everyone can behave badly at some point because everybody's overlooking and condoning it. And that's politics.
That is the very first block of the political wall is what that is. 100%. You know, you just got to look at tunnel systems to know exactly what goes on in politics. Well, I mean, KristIn, before we sort of get towards the end of this, right? Because I need to ask, do you think, I mean, we've spoken about the PR side, okay? Do you think there's a possibility for ERIKA to break away, right? Hit us with a story about how she was forced into doing this or that. She wants to make it about Charlie's legacy, and for her to scoop it all up for herself in a new brand.
No.
Okay. Okay.
No, because you know what? Actually, I don't know if you know this. Turning Point is now in high schools in Texas. I'm in Texas.
Okay.
Turning Point is in high schools in Texas. So as an organization, they've already like infiltrated the education system. They've already infiltrated, you know, government agencies. I'm sure there's some connection in places to disseminate information. So for her to recreate that would be really hard, you know. And I think that all the donors that I think the donors would stay with the vehicle they can control.
Well, so are we then saying that there's a possibility that ERIKA could have wanted a position of power? Because I'm not being funny. You said they raised like what, 150 million. A lot of people can quite quickly unlove their husband or wife and be like,
well, they raised that after Charlie. I think their budget.
Yeah, but here's the thing,
I saw their budget was like 80 mil a year, so they're at least raising 80 mil.
But KristIn, right? What better way of getting someone paid for a job that is 150 million than a public fundraiser? Like, it's the oldest shtick in the book. Like, it is the oldest shtick in the book. Okay, so allegedly, in this hypothetical conversation, I mean, if someone was to come to any wife or husband and say, right, look, 150 million, someone's got to disappear, everything's going to be fine, 150 million. There is a large percentage of the pie that are just automatically saying yes. And you can all sit there and kid yourself that, you know, oh, not me, not me. If there was no way anyone would find out, you push a button, 150, they've gone. There's a lot of people out there that if they want power and money, and that is what drives them, that is what they are fundamentally, please do not kid yourself that they're not capable of something like that. Especially if it's, you know, as soon as you sign it, you turn your back and everything happens behind you.
Listen, you know? My ex-boyfriend, when I was a madam, I was living with my boyfriend. He 100% ratted me out. He testified against me and didn't tell me, and then stayed with me while I was in Rikers and stole all my money while I was in Rikers. And he did that for about $150,000. So I'm living proof. I can speak to experience to that. He didn't get me killed, but he certainly had no problems putting me in jail because he wanted my client list. I was running an agency that was, you know, at its height, like 10+ million a year. Yeah. He wanted all that. He saw it. He was jealous. He wanted it. He didn't care about me. And he acted like the best boyfriend ever for 2 years. I would have never thought he was capable of any of those things. So when we're talking 100+ million, and maybe you get to be vice president one day, or you get a Senate position, or you get some more additional power. And if you're an opportunist who wants to be in the limelight and you see your husband maybe as holding you back, I don't know. I could see where this would happen. Not saying she did it, but I'm saying,
in no way, shape, or form are any of us even remotely hinting we're having a hypothetical conversation about some bitches be crazy and 150 mil is a lot of money. Okay,
you can turn on Lifetime and turn on Snapped, and you can see all the stuff all the time.
Yeah, so we're not in any way insinuating nothing. In fact, you know what? I'm going to double down. I'm going to put this is all allegedly banner up. Yeah, there you go, legal team at Turning Point USA. So yeah, we're just.
But it could be said for anything, right? All the people that are number 2s and 3s over there that want the power, that thought, okay, if I get him out, you know, she's got kids to raise. Maybe I get to be number 1 and I can control all that money. You know, the grift thing. I made a nice video on this. We can educate the people. The grifting happens in these organizations because let's say you raise $1 million.
Yeah.
You realize that you have control of this million. Now you raise 10 million. Yeah. Now you figure out, well, I'm only paying myself $200,000. I really should get some more of this money. We have excess money. So now you go and you open an anonymous corporation, an anonymous LLC in the states that allow that, maybe Wyoming.
Should I be writing this down?
Yeah, I'm giving it to you right now. Yeah, and then you go and you have this LLC. Then you invoice the nonprofit as Twinkle Toes Productions. You're doing social media because you feel like you should get paid for your social media. And you invoice them for $1 million a year. Nobody knows that you're the owner and they think it's a legitimate service. And this is how you grift. And I have seen it at least 20 plus times over the years. And then sometimes even you see, let's say you raise 100 million and you guys are talking and the board says, we should do a documentary on this. We should do a Charlie Kirk documentary. Okay, great. How much is our budget? 10 million? Great. You go and you open an LLC.
All right.
I found the right guy to do this. And you hire somebody to do that. You pay yourself the 10 million. You hired somebody for $100,000. Now you just grifted 9.9, right?
Okay.
That's how it's done in this world. That's how it's done in political action committees.
Hell yeah.
I've seen it. I've watched the people. I've been in meetings where people are like, I'm just going to start a new LLC and I'll do it myself. And I'm like, no, you don't get to give money to yourself when donors, but they don't care. This is the grift.
It's crazy. And, politics and the intricate systems that all of us are in denial about, okay? Because I'm being right. If we weren't all in denial about this, we'd all actually be doing something about this, okay? Like, we understand that this is the politics.
In denial because the denial happens because nobody's telling the truth. And everyone who, is the ones that are questioning, the conspiracy theorists and podcasters. You guys haven't actually been in the world, and nobody that can actually say this is how it happens wants to speak out because they're either grifting or they're afraid of the backlash or they don't want to hurt their own business because it certainly also hurts my business to speak negatively about this world. People don't want to hire me, but I don't care.
But it's the same mindset, whether it's the person on a stage not wanting to tell the newsreader that he looks terrible for the backlash. Right. It's the same mindset. It's the human freaking condition. It's just different layers of budget, mate. Do you know what I'm saying? Some people are wearing freaking, dollar store suits. Other people are wearing Chanel. That's it. It's budget. That's all it is. It's freaking mad, honestly, this world.
I would say in politics, like, maybe 15% of the people that I encounter are genuine and their corruption is extremely limited.
The rest are narcissists, okay? And that
some of the ones I've even thought, oh man, this is the guy, this is the right guy. And then they get an offer and they turn down the first offer, they turn down the second, but that third one.
How can you not love the grifters? You gotta give them credit, man. You gotta give them credit. Well, listen, KristIn, right? Before we get to the end of this, is there anything else you want to throw into this that you want to tell us about? What are you up to next? What's happening for Christmas? Give us something. What's going on? Tell us.
Christmas, I have a 9-year-old. We're doing Christmas,
That's awesome.
That's my life. I still have my PR business. I have a lot of clients. If anyone wants to find me, TikTok is the easiest. Manhattan Madam.
Oh, we're going to be talking about some stuff.
Listen, I love the show. I love you are the greatest, and I love your audience. They're all so kind and lovely, and they allow me a place to talk all this shit.
Take anyone's crap here. If people are coming and be rude to the guests, we just put them straight in the shadow realm, and they can sit there and think about what they've done. But listen, we need to talk about some PR stuff because Ron's got a plan for January, and how do we get people in a room and raise me 40 million, KristIn? That's what we need to think about.
It's all the idea. It's the idea. You have to. You know what the thing is? The thing I tell people who want to run for office, you got to find yourself a candidate who's hated.
Oh, I don't want to run for office.
Money, right? I raise money on hate.
No, listen.
Or death. It's hate or death.
We'll just blag it, okay? We'll just fabricate something. It'll be fine, okay? Just
listen, you have the great background. People should care about
oh
children.
no, listen, I figured out how to sell ice to the Eskimos. Okay, I figured that out. I can figure out an idea. I'm busting your chops, but it's got to be done. Also, the way you do that is you color the blocks of ice. Okay, that's how you do that. You color them so you can have a purple igloo, or all that kind of stuff. That's all I'm saying. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, KristIn, for your time, and as always, and we will definitely see you again because there's more conversations to be had. And next time, I will be preparing my hair for the next event. My hair was wet.
Competition
she turns up like this. It's like a freaking halo coming off her head, and I'm like, oh, I had my hair up in a bun. And I'm like,
you're like, let's turn the light so dark.
Right? I'm sitting here with my hairbrush, like, thanks, love. That's great. So I'll be better prepared. I'm going to get the stylist out for next time. Big shout out to Kaza Bear, our mod. It's her birthday tomorrow. So I hope you have a fantastic day. And yeah, all right. Well, listen, Merry Christmas, KristIn. I hope you and your daughter have a fantastic day. And it's great. Like, Christmas every Christmas, it's all about the kids. You know what I'm saying? So the magic is still there. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And it's been great talking to you again. So thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm live again in about half an hour with John Wedger talking about the nasty UK politicians this time. So yay. See you all over there. Peace.